also lies with companies like ours. Typically, what happens is when we hire people, it takes about 3 to 6 months before people get skilled, even if they come with the right kind of background, to understand what the business is doing, to understand what is required to be done. And that gap can be changed and that can be reduced if they already are conversant with the technologies like AI, which they are kind of using now. For now, I remember the instance when we first put Claude Code in the office and then we asked the engineers to start using that. There was so much reluctance. And it's not like, okay, it's like your boss is telling to use this, just use it and try it out and see what happens. But it's like there's a comfort in working in a certain way, and that comfort needs to be handled because that's the human way of reacting to a change. It needs comfort. You need that assurance that, okay, if I'm using this and if I make a mistake, I'm still okay. So mistakes will be kind of tolerated. So right now, I think we are at a place where we at Locobuzz are giving an environment to our engineering community and other business community as well, like the engineering and the non-engineering employees, to work with AI and make mistakes, because it will happen. But I think it is a journey, like I said in my previous response as well. It's a journey, and it has to be taken together. So all of us will evolve on the other side of the tunnel much smarter and more evolved. And just like other revolutions that we have gone through, I think as human beings, we will survive the AI revolution as well and come out much stronger for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the skills question is a really central question, because if you step back and you say, what is the primary political framing for AI policy, it is whether we end up extending human agency with AI and technology, or whether we end up subverting human agency with technology. And at the heart of that is the skills and capability and agency of people, both young people coming into the jobs market and people who are already in jobs, to be able to exercise agency over AI. And so what does that mean in practice? In the early stage of life cycles, so in schools, for example, the central question we're focused on now is, as AI erodes the sort of some of the foundational bits of work that we each have to do in our painful bits of homework, how do you get young people to build the sort of foundational cognitive understanding of good information and bad information, of chain of thought logic, so that they can really see through the rungs of the ladder that you have to walk up to be able to get to an answer. And so we've started to make some changes, but I think we've got a lot more to do on that particular question. On the question of skills in the workplace, the broad framing that I talked about of extending human agency effectively means, how do we most quickly enable people to become the most proficient managers of AI? To be able to understand enough to be able to oversee AI, tell when its agentic workflows are delivering bad outcomes or good outcomes, to be able to understand, again, the logic of the specific chain of thought that delivers particular work outcomes as well. And that is really the central question of, when you don't have graduate intakes of the same scale as you might have had historically, how do you get graduates to most quickly become kind of managers of lots of AI agents in the workplace? That's the sort of skills focus that I think we're keen on developing more and more of.
Great. We're nearing the end of time, and we do have one more final round-robin question that I wanted to ask to all of the panelists and invite them to answer in a minute or less. But before I do that, I wanted to kind of draw together some of the threads that we've been talking about. Predictably, the time has flown by, at least it has for me. I hope it has for you as well. At the end of what we said at the beginning had been a long and eventful day. I think the main thing, beyond the overarching point of the need for specific thinking around adoption policy as its own distinct policy issue, is all the different levels that this needs to happen for it to really work, and to work quickly to pull forward some of the productivity gains that I'd say people who are most excited about the potential of AI have been talking about. It needs individual adaptation. Individual people themselves need to maybe become comfortable and fluent with the technology. It requires organizational innovations, where I think a lot of the adoption discussion has focused. But it also requires institutional, cultural, and bureaucratic innovations. And I think that the challenge is the technology evolves extremely fast. People can also, individual people can pick up these tools and use them increasingly fast. But organizational and bureaucratic change happens at slower speeds. It happens at institutional speed or political speed. And I just, from the experience we've had over the past year and a half of AI adoption initiative discussions and talking to people like the experts on this panel, it's pretty clear that although there isn't one solution, one silver bullet for this, at least the conversation is happening. So that's very heartening. For the final round robin question, a big part of the summit in India here this year has been the idea of creating a global AI commons. India is focused not only on its own domestic AI ecosystem, but finding opportunities for some of the ideas and thinking and applications that develop here in India to serve other countries in the global south. I was just curious, what do you, as a person who looks at this, and we'll just go down the row, what do you see as the biggest opportunity for global south countries in AI adoption? Is there one particular thing that stands out as an attainable, accessible way that they can speed up adoption and pull forward some of the gains of this technology for themselves?
Yeah, I think the starting point is that in the UK we are very focused on this question of how do we make AI, as the summit name suggests, impactful for people in their day-to-day lives right across not just the United Kingdom, but across the world. And so through our particular program, the AI for Development program, we're very focused on extending the capacity and capability of people across the world, starting at Bletchley with a focus in particular in Africa and subsequently throughout Asia as well. The specific thing that I think is really promising, that I'm seeing a lot of in India, for example, is this focus not just on the huge upside and capability that you get from scaling large language models, but instead partnering on building small language models, building very efficient deployments that work around the realities of people's existing lives, workflows, and day-to-day experiences, and as a result are able to drive much faster pace of adoption and diffusion in those places. That's what we're very excited about in some of the contexts that we're seeing in deployment in as well. And in that context, I think becoming in Britain the home of open source talent, making sure that some of the initiatives we have in government through the Incubator for AI, as well as the AI Security Institute, building open source infrastructure to be able to then share that across globally as well is a really important part of our toolkit.
Thank you. David?
Well, since it's part of my job, I'll put my policy hat on. And I will just say, every time you have a significant technological disruption like this, it provides an opportunity to sort of reset the field. And so in parts of the world, mobile phones allowed countries their citizens to leapfrog PCs and leapfrog the sort of early internet into an advanced state that they can get to more quickly than it took other parts of the world, even though those technologies may have originally been developed there. And I think AI is one of these opportunities to leapfrog current state and bring your country into parity, and if not leading, as I think India is doing, using this new technology. And so as you see some countries try to export their regulatory regimes that may or may not be ready for real use, I think countries that are looking at that choice would do well to think about the potential, think about the opportunity to use these technologies to really vault forward in their own development journey.
Okay, Shubhi, to close us out.
Thank you. I think the global south countries, the currency is people. Here are a lot of us, and the youth, it's a young population, ready to disrupt, ready to learn, ready to adapt, with the right kind of infrastructure and skills at scale, which we all talked about. I think a lot of companies like Locobus can come in the forefront, and then that will actually change the entire picture when it comes to representing AI first technologies in the global platform, because we are already working with a number of global clients at this point in time which are using our AI capabilities, and we see like at that level they are quite open to trying out new stuff, because like I said, we are easing them into the use cases rather than force fitting certain use cases in the overall scheme of things. So I think it's slow and steady which gets done. We have to get things right, which is skills at scale and infrastructure, which I think we tick both. So it's just a matter of time.
Great. We are at time. That is a great note to end on. So please join me in thanking our panel, and thank you for your interest and attention.
You learn all of these computer science stuff, there may be a job at the end of it. They won't be motivated. If I tell them, go build this website, and I'm paying you to do this, much more commitment there. So we need to combine the two. And that's where I think involving the industry early, so education institutions, industry, getting into partnership early on, I think would be a big help in this.
Can I come to Rajan? The ministry through AICOE is investing for and envisioning digital public infrastructure. You can hear it, right? Okay. Public infrastructure and platforms to support large-scale innovation in multiple domains